want to talk about Cynthia Cantu. This is a young lady, a senior that year, who was a cheerleader. And she was in the bus, she was studying for her trigonometry test, or her trig test that she was going to have that day. To her left, she heard some noise. But when she looked over, her view was blocked. She looked to her right and noticed the bus wasn't facing in the right direction. She remembers all these students in the bus flying to the front of the bus when it went down. That's when she blacked out. When she woke up, well, it was dark as she was underwater. This pit in particular was one of thousands dug in the southwest to mine caliche, which is a sandy gravel mixture that occurs naturally in desert areas, and it was used for construction. The bus was hit twice, once by the tractor and second by the trailer. Yeah. Walk us through that.
Okay, so the tractor has the initial impact on the bus.
Right.
And that doesn't send the bus over because it by itself doesn't have that momentum, but because it shifts the bus more toward the pit, and then you have the trailer swing around like swatting it. And that is with the weight of that, because it only dropped, like you said, it was super heavy.
Right.
That's what punted it into the pit.
Right, because apparently there was like a 4 foot mound there of dirt, and it went over, and that's what it fell in.
It hit nose first, and then it's...
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about, because I read so many different things, because according to the report, a lot of the kids said that the initial impact when it hit down, that it wasn't very hard. Now, mind you, the windshield caved in though, but that there was even like almost like a bobbling. That's what I'm wondering. Like, how deep was the water where they landed?
I'm not sure. I think it was. I'm trying to remember it was 30 feet to the shore. I want to say it was like maybe 15 or 20 feet deep. But what I can tell you that I can remember right now is when you're saying the impact wasn't bad, if you read the coroner reports, no one had major injuries. Those that died of drowning. So like you can tell the impact wasn't bad. I'm sure for the driver it was, because the windshield comes into it.
Because he started bleeding. Yeah. He was bleeding severely.
But like in the sense, because the water was deep enough, it wasn't bad. No one had major injuries, like physical injuries of the bodies that were recovered. Those kids just died of drowning.
Asphyxiation.
Yeah, and that's why it comes down to the reason the kids died is they couldn't get out. And that's why the buses are now today redesigned the way they are. Yeah, exactly. But like you saying, that they didn't feel it that bad, that's correct. Because it did slow down, we don't have any major injuries. So had it not submerged the bus, we probably, maybe, I'm sure that maybe all of them could have gotten out, because they had, what's really sad when you look at the images and you see, there was literally this much water to the surface.
18 inches.
Yeah, 18 inches.
That's a foot and a half.
Yeah, right? It's not even like, the water was so murky that even 18 inches you couldn't see. But just the fact that you were that close to safety. When you see the pictures, you see everyone there standing and they're literally just pulling people.
Yeah, it's not much, man. And
Yeah, I want to say it was 15 to 20 feet deep. I just don't remember the numbers I'm bad with numbers, but enough to submerge a sideways school bus.
Right. How far was it from the top to the very bottom? Because some are saying 21 feet, some are saying 50 something feet. Like, that's really high.
Off the top of my head, no, but I would push toward 30 to 50. Have you been down there?
I've taken the drone through there.
You need to stand there and look up. I have pictures, I think they're in my book, where you stand and look up. It's pretty tall, pretty high. Okay, yeah. Because that's the most dramatic thing to me, is standing there and going like, oh my gosh, this was a cliff. We literally climbed and then climbed the fence and went down. And so we were standing like right on the water edge, because there's still water there. Not deep water, but there's still water there. And what is crazy, I heard for years afterwards, because there was always water in there, that a notebook would float up, a backpack, a shoe.
Oh no.
Just remnants from the access seat would float out of there and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah, I do know that for a long time there was some water. It took a long time for it to dry out, because apparently now it's pretty much dried out.
Well, there's pipes coming out of the side, and the last time we were there, we were trying to figure out where they came from. They were draining water into it.
What?
Yeah. We were like, what is that? We're not sure what it was. Okay, so if you're facing the pit this way, so you're facing south, so it would be on the east side wall. There was some pipe sticking out last time I was there, and there was water coming out into there. So that's why there's always water there. It's not just rain, there's something draining in there.
How long did it take for the water to come in? Because I got in that one, some said 8 seconds, and the students that were there, it took between a minute to 2 minutes for the water to come in, and just.
I think it probably did take about a minute. But I do know that afterwards there was some studies done. The company was called Star something Enterprises, and they were investigating the accident, and they discovered that buses fill up super fast with water. It's one of the many recommendations later why there's hatches, why there's all this stuff, because they did it again because they heard about the accident and they said it fills up super fast. But from the descriptions I read, they had some time, to scramble. Like even Alex says, I was like looking around and it was getting to my knees, it was getting to here. So it wasn't like an immediate splash in, so it wasn't 8 seconds.
Right.
It was, but the problem is the way it landed. I mean, you can't use the front door, the way they get in.
Yeah.
And then the emergency exit's pushing up into the water. The only real way to get out is those windows. And back then the windows were smaller. And if any of you are our age, if you're messed with them, they were super hard.
I remember them like it was yesterday. There would be times that you would click on the windows to bring it down, and sometimes it was so hard that you would hurt yourself. I remember it being that painful, and sometimes when it would work, you would like, clank.
Yeah, because there was like 3 settings. It wasn't just like down. It was like
it's like those little things that would go into the sides. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and what's funny is like you got a picture like, okay, we struggled on a normal day. Imagine you're panicking, water's filling up, and how much more difficult that was going to be.
I can only imagine, man.
So I know that it probably was more about around a minute, simply because the descriptions about like, I was doing this, my water was here. So no way that was 8 seconds.
Yeah, you're referring to Alex de Leon, is that correct?
Yeah, and and when they talk about like scrambling to get out, kids falling forward, other kids talking about like, I was here, but then I fell. And the way they describe it, it seems like there was a scramble before even the water. And then they talk about trying to open the windows.
Right. Alex's testimony is the one that really it was clearing out that it wasn't 8 seconds long, man. He had time to visualize, because apparently even before the water had fully come in, he was already escaping.
Yeah. And the way I think about it is if it was 8 seconds, more kids would have died.
I would have to agree with you, man. So apparently also, according to Alex, the driver kept repeating, no fue mi culpa, no fue mi culpa. It wasn't my fault, it wasn't my fault.
And I just have to add, and especially after talking to bus drivers after my book came out, and it was already in my head, and I write about it a little bit in the book, is as a teacher, in a sense, you're responsible for the kids in your room. That should never come into play unless there's like a mass shooting, which that should never come into play. But you do have that responsibility of 30 kids in your room. Right. There's a weight on you when it comes to that. Like, if there's a fire, if there's something going on, your first thoughts to your kids.
Right.
And I don't care what grade you teach, that's your responsibility. And you think about buses with like 40, 50 kids, little kids, big kids, and they know where they live because they take them. Like teachers, we don't know where they live, and so these guys have this weight of responsibility of hundreds of kids a day, and I just can't fathom that responsibility. And so when he's saying that, like I know he's in shock. He just he feels that I've lost. My job is to protect these kids, and I failed at my job.
Right.
And it's a panic because I was doing this presentation for a couple of transportation departments, and some of these bus drivers, there were tears, and I felt like I'm not punishing you. He did nothing wrong. I'm not here to tell you bus drivers mess up. This dude didn't mess up, but they were taking it like they have that weight on them.